Hey y'all, it's Mr. Patient at Heritage Ways, and tonight on Project 54, Miss Katie is making Southern homemade buttermilk biscuits. Yum, yum.
We're sorry, all circuits are busy. Please try again later.
Hey y'all, Mr. Patient at Heritage Ways, and for Project 54 tonight, you thought you were getting Miss Katie and Southern homemade buttermilk biscuits, but you're getting me tonight and the type of biscuits that I grew up on and that I know how to make. So y'all come along. So for tonight, we're having breakfast for supper. I don't know if y'all do breakfast for supper, but we enjoy having breakfast for supper. You know, breakfast is one of those meals that we like anytime. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do what, I don't know where the term come up with. I don't know if a company out there coined this term. We're going to do drop biscuits. And this is the kind of biscuits that I grew up on. I mean, I grew up on, you know, good homemade biscuits. But for a quick, easy biscuit, we had this a lot because it's really easy to make. All you got to have is a baking mix and milk. Okay? Now, if you look at the recipe on the back of a baking mix box, the one I've got here, I was looking at it before we came on here, and it talks about, you know, mixing it out in proportions and then putting it out on a floured surface and kneading it and rolling it out and cutting them out. No. That's way too much trouble. So what we're going to do is what's called the drop biscuit. And basically, you just take the baking mix in a bowl and add some milk. I don't do proportions, so this could end up being a flop because if I put too much milk, they're going to spread out on the pan and basically be a fluffy pancake. But anyway, so here we go.
A hospitality tip right at home is that we have always taught all 6 of our children to thank Mama or Daddy for supper. That's not being prideful, that's teaching etiquette and gratefulness.
So we just take our baking mix and just put it in the bowl. And here again, I mean, you know, depending on how much you want, how many biscuits you want as to how much mix you use. So we're going to go with that and see how this works. Alright, so I'm going to make a little well in the middle to make this a little easier. Alright. And then we just put our milk in. And like I said, we want to put some in and then stir it around and see, like Miss Katie, how does it feel when we're mixing? Because you want it to be a little stiff, but you don't want it to be too stiff. Now, in mixing this as well, you can't use I guess you could use a whisk, but it would be tough because you want it to be somewhat stiff, and a whisk may not work too good, so I just use the fork. Alright, and I can tell that's not enough milk because it's pretty sticky and stiff. So I don't know if you guys have ever had these biscuits like this. But I mean, they're good. They're okay. I mean, it's not as good as a good homemade biscuit, but for a quick biscuit, it works just fine. Okay, that's still a little stiff, so I'll add a little more. Like I said, you want it stiff, but not too stiff, and also you don't want it too thin either, or it'll just spread on your pan when you bake them. Alright, I think that's pretty good. So I've already got my oven on. We're going to put them on the pan. I'm going to show this to you. I don't know if you're going to be able to see or tell anything about it, but there's kind of the consistency that I like. Okay, so there's what I got, and then the way I do this, and this is where the drop comes in. Basically, just take a soup spoon, put some on the soup spoon, and take the fork that we were mixing it with, and we just drop it on our pan and our parchment paper. And that's all there is to it, y'all. A quick, easy biscuit. So I'm gonna finish dropping these on here, and we'll stick them in the oven, and we'll come back and we'll see how they turned out. Now, one thing I do is when I'm putting them on here, I don't want to put them too close, because they are going to grow a little bit. I don't necessarily want to put them too far away either, to where I'm using up all my pan space. So, alright, so I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to put them in the oven, and y'all can come back and see how it turned out. If I had too much milk, not enough milk. Like I said, if you want to go by the recipe on the box and go by the measurements, okay, whatever. But when I do these, I just kind of do it by the way it looks and by the way it feels when I'm stirring it around. Alright, so we'll get these in, and we'll come back. There you go. Alright, there you go. So it looks like I had the right amount of milk to baking mix, because they didn't spread out and get thin. And so they look like they turned out pretty good. The last thing we have to do is taste it. So here's what I like to do. When it's still hot, open it up, get some butter, put it in here, and then close it back up and let it set for a minute and melt. That way there's butter everywhere. It's not just a big hunk. Alright, so this is how it's good, y'all. Alright, so the butter's melted. Here you go. Those turned out pretty good. Hey y'all, so if you need a quick, easy biscuit, that's about as easy as it gets. So you guys need to try that while I get back to finishing cooking the rest of our supper for tonight. Y'all have a good one.